It almost seems like you should be first, but hello, I'm Joe of the West.
And I am Zeal of Sparta.
This week, we are both in the same location, so our audio maybe won't be screwed up this time. And it was a little confusing at first because I felt like Zeal should go first because we're actually in his house, but, whatever. We will stick with traditions. So how are you this week, Zeal?
I'm doing good.
I am too. I'm off visiting family later today, but let's carry on. So anyway, if you want to find more, Zeal, tell us if we want to find more what you're doing.
Well, I have a new video I'm going to be posting soon to youtube.com/Zeal of Sparta. It is a Halo 5 Plays of the Week style video. And if you want to find me where I am regularly located, it is Twitter @Zeal of Sparta.
Okay. And you can find me. I'm very creative with my naming convention. I'm at youtube.com/JoeoftheWest. You can also, if you want to contact me about anything, twitter.com/JoeoftheWest. I do check that every day. And for audio versions of the podcast, soundcloud.com/JoeoftheWest. We'll also find you the playlist there. So let's just jump right into the first story, which belongs to you. Looks like it's about Apple. Well, actually, wrong story. It's about. Well,
Don't break the time continuum, man. Don't break the time flow. Actually, I decided to switch it up between the first and second stories to begin with, and this one is a bit of a rant by Jack Baruth at Road in Track. It is a good read, and I recommend it highly. But his basic premise is to get auto companies, namely BMW, that comes up multiple times in the article, to stop making vehicles based off of what they think people think they want. And it's a bit of a rant, but it is a very good rant. And I agree with his sentiment because, quite frankly, vehicles are they're becoming stupid. They're becoming a thing, not a car that people can truly enjoy. In the past, people could have the nice family sedan like the 5 Series, as he states in the article, or the sports coupe that was actually a sports coupe, like a Z4, or, your two-door sports car. Some people have Mustangs for that, and they'll drive, maybe a Mercedes E-Class, something luxurious and comfortable. But now we have these Frankenstein-style cars, like the BMW Grand Coupe and their GT cars, which, frankly, make terrible sedans and terrible coupes at the same time. And, well, they're quite weird. Because they're,
I literally just pictured the El Camino when you're talking about Franken cars, the ones that look like a truck bed, but they're a car in the front. Mm-hmm. And I did think it was interesting in this article. He says somewhere that the only people who drive with their convertibles as a convertible in LA are tourists.
Yes, and that is true. I actually see, from my office window, I see convertibles all the time, and they're usually 4-door convertibles.
Right.
Well, maybe they're not 4-door convertibles. They're just really long because they're based off of their 4-door car counterparts. Like, take the Audi A4, for example. I will often see them with like a red or a silver paint job with a tan interior and some middle-aged guy with a toupee. Just driving down the middle of the highway.
Is a serious issue.
It is.
You should not make fun of somebody for their disability.
Well, they're just burning themselves is what I'm getting at.
Right.
They just want to feel that wind through their hair. I'm sorry, folks. But at least they're using the car as they're intended. They're typically 2-door models. And there's infinite headroom, effectively, in that situation. But in these cars like the BMW Grand Coupe, for example, they'll take the 2-door version of a 4-door version car and turn it into another 4-door version of the car, and it have less actual usable space than the original 4-door version of the car. Like, they'll turn a Well, it's no longer the 1 Series. Well, we'll use the 3 and the 4 Series as an example. The 3 Series is their compact executive car, executive saloon or sedan, depending on which side of the pond you were on. And it actually has decent headroom in the back. But when they turn it into the 2-door 4 Series, that's supposed to be sportier, it still has a rear seat, but it's only 2 doors. But when they turn it from the 2 Series to the 2 Series Grand Coupe, they have 4 doors again, and the back seat is still small, but it's only marginally better than the 2 Series would have been with the 2 doors. People will constantly bonk their heads as they try to get in and out, and a lot of cars are doing this, a la the Mercedes-Benz CLS cars that kind of started the trend. But at least with that, it was a good-looking coupe-like car that was 4 doors, but you could still get in and out of it. But some of the Franken cars are just getting quite exaggerated. They're very caricature-like. And another example, which I saw going through one town in the north part of the state, was an X6M, which is also mentioned in the article. It's an SUV coupe. It's a 4-door SUV, but the rear end is hacked down so low, it's even for an SUV, you still can bonk your head, and there's hardly any cargo space. Therefore, deleting the use of having an SUV to begin with. That's the main reason for there to be such a big-bodied vehicle that's jacked up, so it can hold a heavier payload and fit more stuff in it. And it also has better visibility overall, which is what some people prefer in a crossover or an SUV. But a vehicle like that, they basically jack up a car and then kill its practicality and then jack it back down to make it sporty again. And you don't really get a jack of all trades and master of none. You just get Jack.
I like it, and I agree with pretty much everything you said. You know way more about cars than I do because I'm not a car person. I'm a computer nerd. So,
and I'm a car nerd.
Yeah. So, but I will say this, and it also mentions it in the article talking about people needing to feel self-reliant in their cars and needing to. Feeling like they need an SUV even though they don't really need an SUV, which I thought the same kind of thing when my wife bought her SUV because we didn't need it, and she did throw out the whole what if we have kids thing, and so we'll buy another car, but okay, whatever. So she gets this SUV, and now it's actually handy for work because she ends up moving.
Yeah,
like now she has to travel all over the state 'cause she's a market sales manager and has to pack her vehicle full of stuff. Well, I guess she doesn't have to, but it ends up saving the company a lot of money because she's going from place to place anyway.
Yeah, it's much more practical than your standard sedan would be.
Right.
Otherwise,
so
it's geared towards transporting people and a couple of golf bags, basically.
Right. So it's actually worked out, but it's if she didn't have this job, if she just stayed a standard regular manager, the seats were down and it was empty almost all the time.
Right, and that's just one of those things. Life changes. There's different vehicles that are made for specific purposes, and they do their jobs well. Okay. And really, what some of these cars need to be are station wagons. They have lots of room in them, and I mean lots. I've started seeing a few lately, including mostly E-Class Mercedes.
Kind of like my old Volvo.
Yeah, the Volvo. That thing's awesome, by the way.
It's
just cool because
I can't find it in the parking lot because everybody else is towering over it. But
but at least you don't get 10 miles to the gallon in it. You get better than that.
Yeah, I get about, depending on traffic, I get about 22.
Which is still pretty good.
Yeah, especially since it's old and, it's...
Yeah, it's a Volvo, though. It's a tank.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, people, just buy wagons, please. For the sake of God, just please buy a wagon instead of these monsters. Everybody will thank you for it. Greenpeace will thank you for it. Soccer moms will thank you for it for not looking like you're going to run them over for no apparent reason.
Right.
Your kids will love you again, probably.
The advantage of having a big vehicle, though, with a big front, is you can put those giant teeth that look like they're going to eat you.
Oh,
like you see on trucks,
yeah.
on the big semi trucks.
Yeah.
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 But anyway, well, let's move on to the next one. The next one's mine, and it's I guess I should call it the other shoe dropping, because as pretty much everybody knows, because Microsoft won't let you not know, they are giving Windows 10 away for free. If you have Windows 7 or newer, there's a couple of odd versions that don't count, like the Starter Edition. Well, here's where the other shoe's dropping. They've announced that they are going to basically place ads in the start menu for these free editions of Windows. And I guess that's what the digital entitlement meant. Because if you do, I'm not running Windows 10, so I can't show you, but not on this computer. But if you got the free version and you go into System Properties, and actually you could try it too if you wanted to. I think if you just do Windows Screen, Windows Key and Print Screen. I'm sorry, wrong one. Windows Key and pause. Pause break.
Oh yeah, the pause break key. I've never used that before.
Yeah, and then go. Oh, maybe it's the wrong way. You have to go into the section with Windows activation. So maybe hit the start menu and type activate. And then go to activation. Yeah, there it is, where it says product key. It says Windows 10 on this device is activated with a digital entitlement. I suspect, I previously thought that's like, oh, that's just their way of saying it's Windows 10 activated on a Windows 7 license key. But now I'm thinking maybe that's them saying they can put ads on your start menu. But anyway, the short version is apparently you supposedly already have ads on it, but I've turned everything off on mine, so I don't see any ads. So like on yours, I'm guessing maybe that social networking panel might be an ad that's tied to your social networks.
Yeah.
And then I noticed sometimes, like every once in a while, the Windows Store icon will change and start advertising stuff.
Like there's Get Office here in the Xbox Live Microsoft Solitaire collection.
Right.
That was there by default, but I've already removed like the other three.
So anyway, then that number might work, because it says here the total is going to increase from 5 to 10.
Right.
Okay, well...
And some of them will also be like the large news icon.
Right.
The news is the largest tile by default.
Yeah, so I'm wondering what you think, because they're giving you Windows 10 for free. It's a major OS upgrade that historically you'd have to pay for. Or you could have bought Windows 10, and it was $140 as last time I looked, is what they're charging for it. So I guess what do you think? I mean, it's a pretty self-explanatory thing. They're going to take the number of ads they put in your start menu and double them.
I could see it being irritating, and it will be irritating to a number of folks, but really, if they allow you to take down the ad tiles, I'm cool with that. Some people would prefer to leave them up, actually, because they like the discovery aspect of it. So, really, as long as they allow you to remove the ads, I'm cool with it.
Which, from what I understand, they do. You have to unpin them.
Right. So, really, it depends on the person, I think.
Yeah.
It's one of those highly subjective preferential things.
So basically they're opting you into their ad system instead of opting you out, which I can understand, because there's been tons and tons of surveys, and there's lots of telemetrics is the word I'm looking for,
right,
that shows that if you have a system that you opt into, people who would use it just won't use it. They won't opt into it. But if you have an opt-out system, a lot of people who would want to use it will use it. And I guess that kind of makes sense, because things like moments in Twitter, I don't use that very often, but every once in a while I'll go in there and look at the system, look at the different things.
Right. Yeah. And
see, I rarely use that moments feature.
I rarely do as well, and opt-in programs can often be annoying, but it's on your start panel, and you can easily remove it, and it's not as invasive as, say, hey, you use one service, but we're just going to opt you into being emailed and called by all these other random companies that you have no interest at all in.
Yeah, that's the old school way of opting in.
Yeah, that kind of opt-in by default is egregious. Right. It's offensive. But this, first blush, it's not really much of an issue, I think. Not too much.
Yeah, I would agree. I could see... I was just wondering, because I could see a lot of raging over it because it's advertising. Mm-hmm. But now that I think about it, when you hit your start menu and it had Get Office on it, I had that on mine too, and it didn't even occur to me that it was an ad because it was part because
it looks native. It looks native.
Yeah, because Microsoft and everybody's done that forever. It's like you've got a Microsoft product, get Office, get Internet Explorer, get whatever. I mean, they probably didn't word it like that because the whole get this has become over the last couple of years has been moving into the terminology.
Right, like thanks to groups like GitHub, I believe.
Right.
So yeah, it's like a first party ad style thing, which is also a recent thing. Well, in the literal term of the sense.
Yeah, the first party ads is because of ad blockers.
But I don't see it being as much of an issue like, say, you go to Google, you do a search for, say, a car, and it will try to force diapers in your face as an ad. It's not like something totally off topic. It's something that might be related, is what I'm thinking. Or it should be related. It should be more native.
So stuff that's related to what you're already working with.
Yes.
So a Twitter ad on Facebook you would be fine with. Or, because it's
not like I search for someone's birthday, I wish them a happy birthday, and then I get a Farmville ad. It's more like, hey, I use Office, I might like, I don't know, another Office Suite add-on?
Yeah, or, advertising... Oh, you can advertise Visual Studio for making Office add-ons.
Yeah, it's like I use AutoCAD. I might be interested in being shown Autodesk Maya if I wanted to do that sort of 3D animation.
And those are the same.
Those are both
right?
Autodesk products.
Yeah,
it's more native advertising, so it's not outright offensive.
Right. The ones I have a problem with, and this is getting slightly off topic, is I'll look up something on Amazon, and then that product is on every single page I go to nearly.
Now that is offensive and evasive because they just shove it in your face effectively.
Right. Especially if I leave it in my shopping cart.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess let's move on because this is just something I just wanted to get everybody's opinion on whether they thought it was a big deal or not.
Yeah. Maybe I'll find issues with it later on, but right now I do not effectively see a problem.
Right. And click E. So this is the one I tried to start with.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one I think might be a problem, as Bob Sorokanish, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, also over at Road and Track, he thinks Apple might be attempting to be a disruptor, as a lot of Silicon Valley tends to be as of late. And this may not be a good thing. As many of you know, Apple makes chargers that are totally unrelated to most chargers that everybody can just use already and use cheaply and effectively, and it already works because it's a standard. But Apple has been headhunting people from different parts of the car industry, mostly makers of electric cars and some electric charging engineers. I believe Tesla's charging chief at one point, and another company's a BMW engineer. But I don't know how true this is. Apple car rumors have been going on for years now.
Right.
And Apple may make a car. But then again, as someone else pointed out, I believe on Autoblog, they may just be becoming a supplier of the charging stations. But the thing is, Apple has a history of making chargers for their phones, granted, completely and unnecessarily unique just for the sake of selling more of them. And right now, the electric car, as part of the automotive industry, is in dire need of an actual standard. Now, there is a standard called the SAE J1772. And it's basically a 5-pin design that most of the electric cars can use, like a Ford Fusion Energy Hybrid, or a Nissan Leaf, or a Chevrolet Volt. I believe they can all use the standard charger. But at one point, they used different designs. Like Nissan had the Chatamio, and the Ford and Chevy used the standard one, and Tesla has its own altogether. It still does.
Right.
That is really harming electric vehicle adoption, because when people want to charge it, their cars, they want to plug in and they just want it to work. They don't want to have an electrical engineering degree to figure out how to plug in their car.
Well, I imagine even if they did have an electrical engineering degree, they couldn't plug it in because they wouldn't have the stuff.
Yeah. I work in I work with a business that is made up of many electrical engineers, and it's a headache for them, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's like, why have all these different chargers? Why not just have one? And at work, there's actually 3 car charging ports, stations,
Right.
with 5 reserved parking spaces. We tend to have about 6 or 7 electric cars in a day, though. Most of them are Nissan Leafs, but they are using the J1772 charging standard, I believe. I think it's the same one as the Ford as well, because I've done my research to try to get one, but my big hesitation is being able to charge it at work and at the house.
Well, I mean, I hear the story about connectors and everybody having proprietary connectors all the time. Like, even if you go back to, like, even when the MP3 players were coming out, I could kind of understand when Apple came out with their iPod having that specialized connector, because that specialized connector lets you send analog audio across it. So you could actually take a device and not have to put any of the USB equipment in there. You could send analog audio, you could send power, you could send data, you could do all sorts of different stuff with that 30-pin connector.
Yeah, it actually had functions to it.
Right. As soon as they took that analog audio out, which is the big one I was thinking of, the big advantage, because you could send it without any interpretation to whatever device you wanted. Then I think they should have went with the USB standard, simply because
it does everything else effectively.
Right.
So it's one standard as opposed to having 2.
And because of standards, I could take my cell phone, which I'm waving around, nobody can see. But with this one plug in my cell phone, I could take just a simple adapter, which is not a voltage adapter, not a signal adapter. It's just a physical plug changer, and plug it straight to an HDMI TV. Right. So I can watch movies and stuff from my phone on an HDMI TV.
Well, it's convenient.
But it's also, I can also understand in a new space, I'm making a device and I'm making my own batteries, charger, everything. I can understand that. And then this person's making a device, they make all their own stuff. And so everybody's doing things a little differently, because if you don't, lawsuits come about. But there's, so the standard, do you know who owns the J1772 standard?
Yeah, SAE, that's the Society of Automotive Engineers, and they are the people that effectively define what the automotive industry does as a standard. And the automotive industry does give them serious input. So it's not like they're just pretending to be the government and just throwing something out.
Right, they're the industry standards body for that. For the automotive industry.
They're made up of a body of experts with input from basically all of the automotive companies.
Kind of like IEEE for engineering.
Yes, it is.
So
it's for automotive engineering.
So, I guess my question is, if I wanted to use the standard, if I wanted to make an electric car and use the standard, would I have to pay them a license fee?
Not that I know of, actually.
Okay, because I know a lot of times, like if somebody wanted to use the Apple connector. To use it legally, they would have to pay Apple a license fee.
Right.
Most companies didn't. They just did it, which I think is part of the reason why Apple keeps changing stuff up.
Because they want you to keep buying their hardware.
Right.
They make a lot of money on it.
But the point is, if I go out and I design a connector, and I patent it, to use it legally, I have to issue you a license. So that would be the only reason I could think of to not use the standard design is if either I had to pay for a license or it was an undue complicated burden. Basically, if I could do it cheaper. That said, I'm pro standards all the way. Yeah,
I believe the SAE standards, they're open standards that pretty much any company can just use. And it's basically there to effectively ensure that your charger, in this case, is going to be compliant. It's going to work.
Yeah. Okay.
It's basically to say, hey, these cars can be charged in this fashion. If you follow this standard, you won't burn out your car. In a way, it's kind of insurance. To make sure it works. They know it works, and they let you use that. Instead of reinventing the wheel.
Okay. So I guess to get back to the story, we don't know if Apple's actually making a car that will have an electric charger that will not be the standard. So I don't know. This may be a non-issue until Apple announces anything. Because I also know every year for like 6 or 7 years there was a random sounding rumor that Apple was going to make a television.
Yeah.
Because they had a device called the Apple TV. So before the Apple TV came out, it's like, well, why would Apple make a TV? Why are they going to make a TV? That's just stupid. So then they come out with the Apple TV box. And then the rumor was, well, they're going to make a TV with it built in. And then I heard comments like, well, they just need to make one with it built in. It's stupid to have a separate box. They can just sell the TV. God, really, people?
Yeah, the rumor mill does run strong. And I'm hoping this is not the case, that they're actually making their own special charger. This is all speculation, mostly on Road and Track's part. But the reason it struck a chord with me is they do have that history of doing that. And they're still on Lightning connectors, which is a separate proprietary connector that is roughly parallel with USB 3.0. I mean, they could have just as easily went with that. And there are hints that Apple is going to move to a standard. I believe it is their MacBook Pro that is actually chargeable via USB 3.0 C.
Yep.
Or maybe 3.1 C, rather.
That's actually out.
Yeah.
They exist.
It exists. My phone actually uses it. I can basically, wattages aside, I could effectively charge up a MacBook Pro with my cell phone charger. which would be awesome, actually, instead of having a proprietary connector like what they have at work. They have a number of iPhone 5s and 5Ss still that they try to use all of the same model for standardization reasons, ironically, and they're all the time looking around for a charger. It's like, hey, do you got a charger? Mine broke. And they cannot just use the USB models that we have.
Well, you're obviously supposed to buy a new phone when your charger breaks.
Yeah, a $30 brick that makes Apple probably $25 every time they sell one.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Bag of parts for a charging brick, it's nothing.
No, it's just a few raw materials strung up in a neat fashion.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next story, which I believe is mine.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So what's this about Oracle and Google? I've been hearing about them getting into a backhand fight.
So do you remember back, I think in 2012, I don't know if it says here, but back a few years ago, they said Google, so I guess to give you the history, Google, when they built their Android system, instead of licensing Java, they took the APIs, which is, I don't know if you're a people who know anything about programming, but the API is the interface that the person writing the program uses to talk to the rest of the application, the rest of the OS or whatever you're running on. So if I have a program like a calculator and I want to add stuff, there's probably going to be a method or a function, depending on which language you're using, that says add, that takes an integer or a float or some kind of number. So what they did is they took all of those method names from Java and re-implemented all the stuff. So if I have an API that says add and takes two numbers, well, you don't know how I'm adding those numbers together. Am I taking those numbers and am I bit shifting and doing funky binary stuff on it? Or am I taking those two numbers or you don't know how I'm doing it.
Right.
Or I guess an easier to understand example is multiply. If I said, 4 times 8, I could simply take 4, go into the registers and take it and run that through I could do the math on it multiple different ways.
Like 2 times 16 or 8 times 4.
Yeah, so
by
if you don't
flipping the numbers.
Yeah, you don't know if I'm doing 4. You don't know if I'm taking the first number 4 and then adding it 8 times, looping through 8 times and doing that, or if I'm taking. There's multiple ways to do it, so you don't know how I'm doing it, and you don't care, generally speaking. So Google took these APIs and re-implemented Java and called it the Davlek, I think, engine. It's been a long time since I actually had to talk about this part. And Sun, who owned Java originally, was completely fine with it. They were they was like, it's good, we're fine.
Look, yeah, whatever, we're cool with it.
But what they're running into is Sun said, yeah, sure, go ahead, but they didn't actually give them a license.
Right.
So when Oracle bought Sun, they got the rights to Java. And then Oracle's lawyers decided this was a big case. We're going to make a ton of money because they're saying Google stole Java from Oracle.
Right.
Which I would disagree with because
Oracle bought Sun originally. And
well, whatever. I would say the argument is Google was saying originally APIs aren't copyrightable because that's not the implementation. That's the language of how I tell the computer what to do.
Right.
It's not telling the computer how to do it. It's saying I want you to add this and this. It's the word contract comes up a lot if you read any of the books about the methodology, about object-oriented programming.
Okay.
That API is the contract. So if you take something like public int add first number, second number, that contract is saying, this is a public method you're allowed to use. If you give me 2 numbers, I will return an integer with the results.
Okay.
Okay, that's how the method works. So, where the lawsuit came back is that they found a section of code that was very similar to how it was implemented in Java. I didn't link that article because it was a lot more. It was a very boring article because it was like, here's the 9 lines of code. But basically, I think it has to do with iterating through arrays.
Okay.
Which everybody does it the same way because it's a fairly common way. I mean, it would be stupid to really do it any other way. So now, what the current argument is Google saying that our implementation is similar to yours because of industry standards. But you can't copyright industry standards. It's how everybody does it.
Right. They're standards. That's
right.
It's there to make everything simpler and easier to move forward.
Right. And I guess the better way to say, if I said, if I gave you a stack of books, or if I said a stack of books, and I said, find me the red book, the industry standard, because books are similar to an array, actually more similar to a queue, but a queue is a type of array. The red book's in the middle, but you don't know that. So the industry standard is you pick up the first book. Is this it? No. You put it off to the side. Pick up the second book. Is this it? No. Put it on top of that one. Third book. Put on top of that one. Fourth book. Oh, I found it. So then you grab the value for that book, and then, well, if we're talking about queues now, you would finish going through the rest of it, and then you would do the reverse operation so the queue would be put back in place.
Right.
So I made it a little more complicated by turning it into a queue instead of an array, but I think it made the visual a lot easier because I could use books instead of just numbers. So anyway, I love the headline. Oracle slams Google to jury. You don't take people's property.
Yeah, that's a very stick it to the man line.
Which I think is hilarious because Oracle's huge.
Oracle is huge.
They might be as big as Google. But they're not as public as Google.
That is very true. Google is a very public-facing company that people know and either love or hate.
Right.
Let's see. Oracle. Let's look them up. Versus Google. Let's see. Oracle's net worth is... Wow, their revenue is down as of 2015. As of 2015, Oracle's total assets are $110.90 billion.
Huh.
That's a lot of dough. Now, Google, on the other hand, they are... I'm sure they're worth a lot. They're not worth as much as Microsoft or Apple, but they are certainly worth something. It's their slogan, but not their worth.
Their slogan's out of date, too.
Yes, that's another subject for sure.
So Oracle was that 11, that first number?
Yes, 110.9 billion.
All right.
Oh, wow. That's net income. Google net worth.
Well, any net worth puts it at 200 billion.
According to Google.com, their own search, their 2015 net worth is $32.7 billion. So a little more than a third. That's according to Larry Page's Wikipedia as well.
Okay, yeah, so
Google likes that result, so I'm going to hold it true. But no, that's Larry Page.
Is that Larry Page's net worth?
It says Google's. Yeah, that's Google's net worth. It's interesting, Google's own result points to Larry Page, but not themselves. and their Wikipedia says nothing of their net worth.
That's probably because that Larry Page's page has more information on it.
Well, it also says Larry Page's net worth is around $38 billion by itself. I hit the chord. I'm curious now.
Yeah, and actually, now that I think about it, in 2016, Google, what people think of as Google, is actually Alphabet.
Yes, that's true. I should probably look at Alphabet then. Okay. Wow. Sorry, Apple. Alphabet now the most valuable company, according to CNN Money. I hate autoplay ads, people. Sorry about that. So it's... I don't know what their net worth is.
Yeah. Well,
it's curious.
And it's not that important because, I mean, the question is, would this count as stealing? And how much damage does an Oracle actually have? Which I would argue none.
Yeah, not much in this article.
I would actually argue that maybe they got some help because it made Java more popular because you had to learn Java to write to Google.
Yeah, it helped Java proliferate. Proliferate.
But anyway.
Yeah, that can certainly be put forward. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Google actually won this lawsuit as of late yesterday.
Oh, did it actually? Okay.
Yes, I caught a brief glimpse of it, but
I hope they
driving
did.
for 3+ hours does not allow me much time to research that.
Well, I will look that up, but it does make me very concerned if APIs are considered copyrightable, because that would be kind of like copywriting the English language.
Yes, because it is a language effectively. It's It's not the programming language, but it is like a language.
Right. It would be like if I tried to tell you to add these two numbers together, but I can't use the word add or sum or combine, or because everybody else, these have been already taken up.
Right.
Although I guess it'd be job security for whatever language you learn, because it'll be some obscure random set of characters you have to memorize to add stuff.
Yeah. It's a monopolization of the subject.
Okay.
But yeah. But speaking of things that are popular with Java, is Minecraft. And according to TechCrunch, the circle is now complete with Minecraft, because Minecraft is getting a deathmatch mode.
Yeah.
That people have been making custom games for years now. Amazing, it's been years since Minecraft is out.
Feeling old.
And, well, it still seems like a fresh game to me, even though I haven't played it much in the past few months. But people used to make these custom games, often based off the Hunger Games in theme.
Right.
And they are having death matches now. It's now an officially sanctioned thing, apparently. And it will have a lot of the features you would otherwise, like spectator mode. Once you die, you'll fly around as a bat. So you will actually be seen as a spectator in these matches, and they're small arenas. And
because I play with spectator mode, which is really, really, really dangerous. If you die in spectator mode, which is very hard, but stuff can kill you.
Right.
You respawn, but you have no mass, so you literally fall out of the planet. You fall out of the world, and all your items are just gone. Yeah. I ended up in an endless loop. I may have video of it. But yeah, this is kind of cool. I hope they do a good job with it. And maybe I'll have to set up a server that does the official deathmatch mode.
I would certainly like to try that. Get a few of our cohorts.
Coming to Minecraft on consoles in June. I didn't read this part.
Yeah. I didn't either.
But you know what? Maybe I'll set up one using the existing mods. I really like the bingo one we played.
Oh, bingo. I have not played that one yet, actually.
We played
Tell
it.
us about it. Really?
Yeah. Me and you played it a long time ago. It was basically it was a scavenger hunt on a bingo card. So you had to find like a feather and a certain kind of leaf and a certain plant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have that.
It was like a bingo board.
Yeah.
Once you completed it, you can hover above it and you can see the full board.
Right.
It had like biomes encased in certain areas.
And actually, I kind of want to make that the question of the week. If we reset that up, would any of y'all be interested in playing Minecraft Bingo or Deathmatch with us?
So like a public-facing deathmatch mode.
Yeah, because our server is public-facing. We just have a whitelist, so nobody can log in.
It's a whitelist, yes.
Yeah. And it's fun. Occasionally, I'll watch somebody try to log in, and it goes, no. And then they move on.
It's funny. They tried 27 times, but they never got in. Yeah. It could be fun. It's nice to have certain things baked into the game itself, so it's less set up for certain server ops, which is cool. But there's a lot of people out there who have innovated quite a lot in making this stuff happen to begin with.
Yeah.
They set up the rules. They set up the maps. They create artificial barriers like the domes to keep people locked in. And it's kind of like learning Java or some kind of code language, but in a very fun fashion because you can instantly apply it.
Yeah, the API. I haven't done any mods, but I've looked at the API. And it is Java-like. Maybe Oracle should sue Microsoft now because they own Minecraft, and Minecraft is similar in API to Java, even though it's written on Java.
It is written on Java, and they may actually have a license already. They've probably had it for years now.
Probably.
Google, they're in a little more trouble, I guess. Well, no, since they apparently won that lawsuit. Or won that
I hope what you're saying is true on the Google.
I want to say they did win it. Only caught a glimpse, though. But, yeah, that'll be fun. I'd like to get back in Minecraft soon. It's a very creative game, and it's...
right.
It's fun to express.
Well, I want to have a dedicated server. Probably the reason our server keeps going down is on my regular desktop, and it actually chews up a lot of power because it keeps my CPU running, even if nobody's logged on.
Yeah, because it's one of those always active servers.
Right.
Everything's processing all at once, and it's quite a large world, really.
Well, it's only processing where a player is, but the map, the online map, that is a player that's constantly traveling the entire world.
Yep.
So there's always a player. So it's not the entire map's active, but large sections of it always are.
It's re-rendering the whole map every so often.
Right. Okay. Well, that was interesting. And I think I do want to try that out. So, and whenever it comes out next month, we may give it a try. If it's not...
If it's on the console version, I might have to.
Well, I hate the console. Well, okay. I say vicariously I hate the console version because it's limited, and I just can't imagine doing Minecraft with a controller.
Yeah, something like Minecraft or Ark Survival Evolved naturally plays better with a mouse and keyboard. And I have Ark on both the PC and the console, so I know what I'm talking about here when I say PC Master Race. FTW.
Yes. Down with the console. Which actually is kind of happening.
Yeah, that would be sad. I kind of like the console too, but...
Well, I would buy... I like the consoles, except the consoles are basically now PCs.
They are.
They have to be online. It's... Like, I've watched...
There's a set-top box of PCs, basically.
Yeah. I'll do a name drop. If you're watching Some Ordinary Gamers, that channel...
Yes. Actually,
he does a rant on installs. Like he literally went to play, I think, Call of Duty, and 9 hours after he put his disc in, it still was not up.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, he was ticked. And it popped up and said it was ready. You could play. And he clicked on the button. He couldn't play. He could play an online match, but he couldn't. He could play multiplayer, but he couldn't play. This has been a while now. But he couldn't play the single player.
Oh, that would be annoying.
Yeah.
Half of Call of Duty is the single player. I mean, it's like the saying goes: you come for the single player, you stay for the multiplayer with Call of Duty.
I wonder if that's reversed now for new people.
I don't know. Call of Duty has lost a lot of luster with people because they keep recycling certain themes, and much of it is the multiplayer that keeps getting recycled. Jeez. Yeah, and it's like they keep adding some stuff though, but they keep the old annoying features in, if you will call it that. It's a feature, not a bug. Right. Like crappy spawns. Oh, a guy just shot you. You spawn right in front of him again. Or you spawn behind him.
I'd rather have the latter.
Yeah, it's usually the former, though, which sucks a lot. Or you'll spawn and he's literally right around the corner and he'll nuke you again and again.
I was like, why do you keep dying?
Yeah, until you basically have to throw the entire match so you can get repositioned. Or they'll... Like, Last Stand, people hated that perk because it was so jarring to the cohesiveness of the game itself. They eventually removed it, but it took them a while.
And what was Last Stand?
Basically, if your avatar went down, as in they were dying, instead of actually dying, you were fixated to the floor. Whatever the game
so you're laying on the floor. I've seen
and
that
you have
before.
like a pistol with full ammo. So the guy could go down with both his primary and secondary weapon totally empty, wasted, and he'll be immediately on the ground, low to the ground too, instead of up in the air or just standing up like you could have been before. But he'll be low to the ground where you're not aiming and instantly have a weapon trained at you.
I've seen that in other games. I don't play Call of Duty, but I've seen... Not usually where... Sometimes they have a weapon. Like, they'll have a pistol. Like, what am I thinking of? I think I'm thinking of Payday. Where you'll have, like, you're on the ground. I don't remember if you have a pistol or not, but you're on the ground and somebody has to revive you. Right. Or you don't die, you're captured by the police because you're robbing banks. But yeah. So that's kind of cool, I guess. That they took it out because I would hate for somebody to be basically on the ground, a small target, and
it's kind of a super perk as opposed to a regular perk. Like one of the perks would be Flak Jacket, which gives you marginal extra defense against explosives, or it could be. There's another one, I forget what it's called, that would allow you to sprint like 1 or 2 seconds longer. They would have minor effects. Right. Whereas Last Stand would allow you to basically get your enemy really good. It was just not cohesive to the rest of the experience.
Yeah, I could see that being such a pain. But anyway, so let's move on to the next story. I like to end mine on something funny. So, I'll give you a second to bring it up. I've already got it up on my screen.
Oh, yes, this one.
Yeah. So, there's this guy in an elevator, and this picture is a picture of him. I don't know why yours is in a different order.
Yeah, it was in the last... I don't know, it was different on my laptop yesterday.
Yeah, it's not even coming up on mine. But you can watch the guy. He comes up behind her, starts sniffing her, which is really creepy. And apparently this is not going to come up. But yeah, bam.
But yeah, the video shows the guy eventually reaches around and touches the woman's shoulder, and what happens next is basically a display of she's had training before. Plenty of training. Self-defense training, specifically.
Well, and I'm for it, because that's... Yeah.
She elbows his arm backwards and then slugs him right in the face and then, well, kicks him in the balls.
Yeah.
And then knees him in the face, which is really pro. That was cool.
But that was just super creepy.
Yeah, that was totally unwarranted, and she beat him down, which was awesome.
Yeah. So...
Instant justice. Justice.
She wins our BAMF of the Week award, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was all I had. I didn't know if there was anything else you want to talk about. I know you had one you were thinking about.
There was one I was thinking about. It's kind of a footnote, but it's kind of neat still. Microsoft and Facebook are in leagues with each other to lay down a very high bandwidth cable across the Atlantic to connect North America with Europe. And it has more capacity than any other line crossing the ocean at this time. So that might be quite...
Wow. 160
useful.
terabits per second?
Yes, it is. That's a lot of information. Yeah. And they're laying it out in a different path than the other cables for reliability and redundancy reasons.
Right. Well,
that makes sense. If like a storm or an accident takes down one of the other lines, it won't be in the same ground zero. So, hey. And since they plan on selling some of the excess bandwidth, that may mean I can play more reliable Call of Duty games with my friends across the pond.
This can't hurt. Because I know once you leave the country, we've got decent internet, fairly low latency. We're maybe 8 or 9 milliseconds if we stay in the country. As soon as we leave the country, it's a minimum of 40 milliseconds.
Oh, yes.
Minimum.
And if this won't solve the biggest issue with latency that I have is playing with, say, Japanese or Korean or basically anyone on the East Asia side of the Pacific. Is they're literally on the other side of the world, so there's so much cable in between me and them. Mm-hmm. We effectively can't play together.
What's funny is back in the 90s, I know this is way back in the day, you could do a speed test. Their computers were so much faster than ours for whatever reason. You could do a speed test from here and stay in the local area, or you could do another one to them, and they were much faster. They could give us the data so much faster than we could here because our stuff had so many hops and nodes, and it was all kind of janked together in the mid-90s. It was pretty funny. That's not true today.
Yeah, sometimes. I see. Sometimes where a technology develops first, usually ends up being the slower or inferior later because they have all this legacy gear in the way, effectively. And the other group or country can start from scratch after it's developed a bit. Yeah,
that's why South Korea's internet's amazing, because they're in a small area. They get to learn from everybody else's mistakes, and they started with like mobile devices and security in mind and all this stuff instead of everything just kind of being patched together.
Yeah, being developed ad hoc.
Right. Then you go to North Korea and your internet's terrible because it's all blocked. But
yeah, that's a whole different world there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. Just as a reminder, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, or if you think it's terrible, give us a thumbs down, and leave us a comment below. Any feedback is helpful. You can find me at twitter.com/JoeoftheWest, and right here where you're watching this, youtube.com/JoeoftheWest.
And you can find me at Twitter or with my handle at Zeal of Sparta. I respond pretty quickly via that medium, and I like to post videos, which I'm getting back into soon, finally, for YouTube.com/Zeal of Sparta as my channel. And I should have that video up before the end of the weekend as we're recording this, actually. I just need to add music.
Yeah, music is helpful. I did see it. It looks pretty good. Zeal is... I never want to be on the opposing side of him in any first-person shooter, ever.
Yes, the TBOJ leaders named me as the troublemaker of the bunch, for the enemies anyways.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, I tried editing the video from my laptop using Google services since my desktop has the editing software. And YouTube, for whatever reason, for my account, they will not let me add music properly. They have a music addition tool, but every time I apply it, there's supposed to be a slider that I can choose all audio from the video, or mostly music, or all music. No matter which of the slider selections I choose, it's all music all the time, none of the audio from the video. I'm not really sure why it does that, but it's always the case, no matter which machine I use.
Well, yeah, I would wait until I got a chance to edit it on your desktop then.
So yeah, I'm back to I used the Xbox Live Upload Studio for the video itself since I was away from my desktop that week. So I pieced it together there. And I was hoping to have it live this week, but I could not do that since it was just dry audio. I wanted to add a little pizzazz to it just for the fun.
Well, anyway, so I guess that's it. I will see you next week.
See you next time, folks. Till then, have a good one.